Just trying to remember the questions.
Okay. Our questions have gone. We need the questions back to help us along. But we do know the first part of this question is that it is hard for us to be connected. Okay. And what do we say about that? Very nice. All right, can we find our questions? Can we put them back to help us along here? There we go. All right. It's hard to be connected. Someone tell me one reason why it's hard to be connected.
Trust.
Yes, sir.
Trust.
Trust. Okay?
Control.
Very good reason.
Control.
Control. The desire to control
Or the fear of being.
or the fear of being controlled.
I think it takes a lot of energy to stay connected.
A lot of energy to stay connected. Okay?
Connection creates obligation.
Ooh, you said it. You said it. Connection creates obligation. Yes.
That becomes a problem when there are so many things connected to.
Yes.
And then it's also that tells us we're supposed to be able to do everything on our own.
Okay. So, yes.
Fear of failure.
Wow. Okay. Good. Not enough time to be connected. Yes.
If I'm connected, I might have to change. Or I might lose myself.
Ooh. Okay. This is slipping into one of those conversations. We have moved from the polite niceties into the real struggle. Yes.
In this conference, the space, there's a big gap between.
Okay. It's hard to be connected because you're so literally far apart. There are mountains between us, and that's more than the song. Right? And hills and mountains between us, hard to get over. Yes, sir. Ooh, could you say a little more about that? The type of connection we're expected to have.
For youth, like I am, then we're expected to be connected in school, we're expected to be connected at home, we're expected to be connected more than what we know that we're supposed to be connected to, and sometimes it gets kind of hard to know what we're supposed to be connected, what type of connection we're supposed to have, with everything's supposed to be connected.
Okay. All right. It does make a great deal of sense, and I'm going to repeat it just in case everyone didn't hear you. Okay? So the difficulties, especially as a young person, when there's so many different places where folks are saying you should be connected, what kind of connection you're supposed to have to each space, and trying to stay connected to all of those places simultaneously. And the feeling of being overwhelmed because you're trying to be connected at school, you're trying to be connected at home, you're trying to be connected to your friends, and you're trying to keep up with all of that and the tremendous struggle that comes from all of that, right? So some really good things were said. We started out with trust, right? How difficult it is to be connected to folks because of the trust issue. And if we tell the truth, we have some real trust issues in the church, large C. Right? And sometimes that is large C, meaning all churches everywhere, whether your local church has ever done anything or not. The big C church. And the change in the way as a culture we see large organizations and institutions. Those trust issues. And then there are the very local trust issues that happen in your particular parish. When someone said or didn't do this thing. There's the control issue, which is significant. Whether or not it is our desire to be in control and being connected to means surrendering part of my control. Or whether it is the fear that being connected to you means you are going to try to control me, and I don't want that. There's the obligation that comes from being connected. There are the ways in which we're connected. There are the difficulties associated with how we manage connection when people are so far apart. And there's understanding what kind of connection are we really talking about. When we talk about the conference, is this supposed to be the same kind of connection that you have in your local church? Is that the same kind of connection that you're supposed to have with your immediate family? Are these secondary levels? You know, I like to talk about it like cousins. You know? Your local church, this is like your immediate family. You got parents, you got siblings, you know, your association, those are sort of like first cousins who live close by. You know? By the time you get to the conference level, these are like distant cousins you see at the family reunion if your dad decides to take you. So when you get to the national level of the church, these are the cousins you only see at the big family reunions, not like the ones that are in the backyard, but like the big ones that come with t-shirts. But all of these different levels are still family, which means we still have this connection, and how do we engage and how do we participate in that? And so a lot of these issues around connection have to do with what's happened in this dialogue, which is getting comfortable enough with each other to first of all tell the truth. To tell the truth about what makes this work hard. There is a tendency when we gather in these large settings to forget that this work is hard and to create a space that's honest enough to say it's hard and talk about why it's difficult to do. This is to figure out what the little dot on your tag is and go to the spaces they say go and talk to a couple of folks and prepare for the dialogues and call it. But this work we're attempting to do really is challenging, frustrating work, and figuring out is not easy. Right? It requires sweat, and it will require some tears, and it will take some long. This is why that fear of failure is so essential. Because somewhere along the line, we started to believe that we're already supposed to know how to do it. That we're supposed to come in because it's such a basic, clear sense on how to do it, and we don't know how to do it. We don't. And so, okay? We got to figure that out. All right. I want to do something for a few moments now, and then we're going to come back and have a conversation. I want you to get into groups of 4. I want you to get into groups of 4. I'd like for you to find people which would equal 4. To conversation with them. Okay? You do that to get into groups of 4. You can move about now. Find your 4 people. They do not have to be filled. This is the UCC, so I'm not there to tell you because you would choose another way anyhow.
Hi, Jack.
What's the issue?
I guess we'll find out.
You're looking, I see a group of 2, 4, 3, and 4. There you go. They're even going to move in to help you with that. All right. Over 3 years. Number 3, that's right. This is the United Church of Christ. So you can find an option A, C, but all the people choose C. That's how it works. The work will be okay with it. All right. I haven't told you yet on purpose. It's an old trick I learned many, many years ago. You tell folks to move into a group, you know, because you want them to talk about something. And if you want them to move into a group to talk and you start telling them they move into the group while you're talking. Right? As soon as you say I want to move, they all start moving into the group. Nobody knows. I can explain it 3 times. But if you just tell people, move into the group first, and within about 15 seconds, they're like, what are you talking about? And you're right there to answer the question. It cuts down on the middle streets. That's what I found. All right, have a group? All right, good. So, here are some basics to the group. Number 1, you must introduce yourself to everyone in the group, and not by the name that is on your name tag, the name that you want to be called. Okay? Because what shows up on your name tag and what you may choose may not be the same. So if you are in this group and you really do prefer to be called, who are not you today? All right? So you must introduce the name by which you want to be called. The group is participating whether they speak or not. Everyone in the group is participating whether they speak or not. most difficult thing you've got to do while you're here? Okay? While you're here. However long it is you're going to be here, what's the most difficult thing you've got to do while you're here? That's it. That's the first thing. Okay? The second thing is, what can anyone in the circle you're in do to make that easier? What can anybody that's in the circle you're in do to make that easier? So, first question, what's the most difficult thing you've got to do while you're here? Second thing, what can anybody in your group do to make that easier? 2 things, 7 minutes. 2 things, 7 minutes. And go.
14.
Okay.
So, I'm going to ask a couple questions, and I'm going to invite you to raise your hand. I do actually want you to raise your hand, okay? So, if this was an easy exercise, would you raise your hand? An easy exercise. If this was a difficult exercise, would you raise your hand? Okay? So a few folks found it easy. And a few folks found it difficult. Most folks found this exercise easy. Okay? I'd like to hear from the groups some of the things that folks said are the thing they're going to have to encounter. I'm going to start with this group in the back. And you can just tell me one thing that was said, any one thing, doesn't matter. So say it nice and loud so everyone can hear you, and I'm going to do my so folks can hear you who are watching us.
I don't know what to say. My most difficult things here is I'm pretty, I guess I'm the newest at UTC. I just got here 2 weeks ago.
Aha!
To serve at Taiwanese church here.
Okay.
Which is really in Keystone. It's
Okay.
about 5 minutes away.
Okay.
My people are busy. So I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay. All right.
Everybody can make me feel better possible.
All right. Thank you very much. So one thing we can do is to say we're glad that you're here with us. So one answer, really hard for me to say. It's going to be the most difficult thing about this in this particular context. A number of things. My mind, though, is on the church that I serve that's around the corner. That's where my heart and mind is. So you're asking me to be present about this moment. My mind is on the church that's around the corner. Let's hold that right here. Next group. That's you guys. Yes, sir, with this fabulous royal blue vest on and the very cute young man. Gotcha, cutie. One thing from that group.
Well, one of them was, he seems to be a little young. They don't have any groups for kids in the middle youth area.
One of the most difficult things is fitting in here. There's not really anything here for me.
Fair.
I did not dance. Okay? One is, I can't really be in this moment because I'm thinking about my church that's around the corner and what's going on in another. The other is it's really hard for me to connect because there's not really anything here for me. There aren't other folks here my age. Not really quite sure how to fit in. What do I do? This group right here with a very good-looking vice moderator. You weren't here earlier for the compliment, so I thought it only appropriate I should give it in person.